Or at least that was what Colin thought this must be. He had been with women before, but he had only just realized that he had never made love until he laid Penelope onto his bed and began their intimate dance with a single kiss upon her lips. This was like nothing he'd felt before. This was love, and he was going to hold on with both hands.
Every day, we rise, challenging ourselves to work for what we believe in. At U.S. Border Patrol, protecting our borders is more than a job. It's a calling. Agents answer the call, working together to keep our country and communities safe. If you are ready for a new mission, join U.S. Border Patrol and go beyond. Learn more at cbp.gov/careers. Every day, we rise, challenging ourselves to work for what we believe in. At U.S. Border Patrol, protecting our borders is more than a job. It's a calling. Agents answer the call, working together to keep our country and communities safe. If you are ready for a new mission, join U.S. Border Patrol and go beyond. Learn more at cbp.gov/careers.
Dayelle, we're back.
We are back, Amanda.
Welcome back. Season 2.
This is great. I'm super excited.
Season 2 for us, but season 3 of Bridgerton.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, but I've been watching Bridgerton so much that I feel like it's become my identity.
I have too. I mean, I don't know how you could tell we've been binging it. I look the same, I act the same. It's just inside of me, I think. Internally.
I really love tea now. I've never...
Well, today we're not drinking tea. We're drinking the carriage ride, which is, if you read or watched the season...
Touche.
A delicious scene. But the cocktail we're drinking in a nice highball glass. We're going to do some falernum liqueur, some sweet vermouth, a little bit of sherry and lime juice, top it with club soda. It's a little savory, a little sweet, a little citrusy.
Is it hot?
It's iced. It's in a highball, so it's nice and cold. It can get you hot, just like the carriage scene did. So cheers to that.
Cheers.
Okay.
All right.
So much to say about this.
Okay. So first off, we have to just say this in the world of the book series. Mm-hmm. This is technically book 4, not book 3. Book 3 is actually Benedict's story, which might throw some people off because we got a little taste of that in part 2. But anyway, the book we're going to be talking about today is Penelope and Colin's story,
which is romancing Mister Bridgerton. But you also, in a little bit of part 1, season 3, part 1, and a lot of season 3, part 2, you get a touch of Francesca's story.
Yes, you do.
Which is when he was wicked.
Yes.
So,
which thrown out there right now, out of all the books, her story is my favorite story.
We won't focus it on.
No, we can't.
We'll talk about it later in the episode. But just starting off.
Okay.
I don't know where to go with this. Do we start book or do we just go into both?
I think we have to go into both because they're so different.
Yeah.
We can't compare without talking about both of them at the same time. Because to be fair, the book series is completely different from the show.
Yes.
It's just, they're two different things. I think starting right off with this episode, we have to just talk about the fact that if you keep them separate, I think you will be happier. I think if you only watch, you will love it. If you only read, you will love it. But when you read and watch, it gets a little messy.
And that's not to say, I watched it. I loved it.
Yes.
Part 1.
Mm-hmm.
You watched it the first time and you're like, I was not in the right headspace. I was so bored. And when you rewatched it, I don't want to speak for you. You said you liked it a lot more.
I did. I liked certain elements of it. I think it fell short. I don't think the directors gave them a very good shot at telling Penelope and Colin's love story. I think they kind of got the short end of the stick they didn't truly get a full season of just them. You get a little bit.
And they deserved it.
They did. And specifically in part 2 of this, the editing was wonky. Specifically, the threesome scene that we get to experience, the way that they cut the scene throughout 2 days, but really it was just one scene that they just extended, was the weirdest thing. And I could only focus on that. I had a really hard time focusing on Penelope and Colin because they just kept going back to the one night, which was the wedding night, where Benedict finds himself having a nice little threesome. And I think it kind of took away from the sweetness that is Penelope and Colin's love story.
You get so much more of it in the book.
So much more.
But I do want to say props to Nicola Coughlan and, what's his name that plays Colin?
Yeah, I don't actually know, but
I'm
he's
going to pull it up because if it was not for their acting abilities and the way that Nicola Coughlan laid the longing looks to Colin, you knew her passion for Colin season 1.
Yeah. Fair.
Had she not been such a good actress, I don't know that we would have shipped them so hard.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think obviously
Newton. Sorry,
Luke.
Friends.
I think I did know that his name was Luke. I think what was really interesting for me was to see the strength that they gave Penelope in the show that they don't necessarily, like, Julia Quinn doesn't necessarily give that to Penelope in the book. I think she is saved by Colin in a lot of things in the book, whereas on the show, she is queen. Like, she is an incredibly strong, and you can see certain elements of her where it's like, okay, she's second guessing herself. Like, does she really know what she wants? Does she really feel these things? But then in the end, when it comes down to it, she's queen. Like, she takes what she's given and she rolls with it and never giving up who she is and what she loves to do.
You get a little bit of that in the book. So in the book, it's very similar to this, where Cressida Cowper says that she's Whistledown because she wants the money.
Yep.
And same thing in the show. And she's just not ready.
Yeah.
She's not ready to admit.
Well, and in the book, I guess this is one of the biggest differences, is in the book, Colin already knows that she's Whistledown.
Before they're engaged.
Before they're married.
Yeah, like, before they even... Yeah,
right.
He knows.
He discovers it. And so I was curious to see, like what you just said, the Cressida stuff. I was curious if they were going to do that, because I was like, how are they going to put that in without him knowing? Obviously, he finds out in a very similar way, except in the book, she's at a church and that's where she leaves, like in the pew. She leaves her writing.
And it's not as salacious in the book. Lady Whistledown isn't straight up ruining lives like she is in the show.
No.
And I do just want to say that, again, props to Nicola Coughlan, because she researched Penelope before this season on fan Reddit pages.
Oh, that's incredible.
She was like, even before she even started the show, that's what she used.
Yeah.
The people that have read this book, how do they want Penelope
to see her?
Because she's out of all the characters, Penelope's probably the one that people relate to the most.
Absolutely.
She's a wallflower. She doesn't typically look like the male gaze, what everybody wants.
Exactly.
And she is the one that most readers are going to be like, this is me.
This is me. Yeah.
So she really wanted to portray that version. And a lot of people said that Penelope is a bigger badass than is portrayed on the pages. Yes. And in the book, like you said, Colin saves her a lot. Colin tells everyone she's Lady Whistledown, where in the show, she's all alone up there.
Right.
Which I do just want to point out this very sweet moment. I know it's kind of jumping ahead. The entire glow up of all the Featheringtons in this season, incredible. Yeah. And when her sister says, Volley, the bugs.
Literally in my notes I have, that is one of
the sweetest, cutest moments.
I love her sister.
Incredible.
I always forget her name, but like in this season specifically, she's just like the comic relief constantly.
She's so
like the
funny.
stuff she comes out with just would, like, it makes you laugh out loud every single time she says anything.
Did you know the actress that plays her is dating the actor that plays Benedict?
Yes,
in real life,
which is adorable. I love those kind of little things. I also think a big thing that we probably should just touch on is the fact that in the books, there's a lot of weight, no pun intended, around Penelope's weight.
She says she lost 2 stone.
And I love the fact that she does not change herself physically in the show. In the book, there's a constant reminder and theme that it's because she lost weight that Colin is now interested in her.
And that is not
not the case. He loves the real woman that she is in the body type that she is. She's a stunning, stunning woman. And she is incredibly strong, incredibly smart, and she's funny. She's got all of it. She's a full package, literally. And I love the fact that they did not, like, obviously Shonda worked her magic and she knew that that would not be the character that she wanted to portray.
Yep.
And I love the fact that they went in this direction.
Yeah.
Because the body positivity.
First of all, we're going to get to it because we just did a little TikTok with our intern, Lizbeth, who sent us these prompts that she wanted us to say who our favorite characters for season 3 were. And mine were just Penelope's Yetis.
Yeah.
Because they are perfect.
She's stunning.
She's beautiful. But
stunning.
The showrunner for Shonda Rhimes, she said that for Penelope's entire glow up, they channeled a little bit of Rita Hayworth and a little bit of Jessica Rabbit, which is hilarious because we were just talking about that.
But she gives me Jessica Rabbit vibes.
100%.
Like,
but her curls.
Stunning.
Her curls.
Yeah.
So they just did this whole thing where she's really buttoned up. Her curls are very tight in season 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And as she becomes more herself,
they
loosen. And by the end of season 3, she's got that beautiful pink curl around her face, but it's just these soft Hollywood curls. It's gorgeous.
I love it.
And they kind of said that, that's not how a woman's hair would be, but also a woman wouldn't have the career that Penelope does. So she shouldn't be like that.
No.
In her wardrobe. She's not wearing oranges anymore. She's wearing blues and greens and just.
Yeah.
Oh, God, she's
her
so
wardrobe
hot.
is stunning.
Nicola, just the actress, is just
she's fantastic.
Gina.
I just saw, sidebar, this is off topic, but I just saw she was just in a like commercial for Skims, I think, or like body shapewear or something. And she looked incredible. Like just
when doesn't she?
No makeup, just rocking the stuff they were putting her in, obviously. But like she's just.
Did you see the interview she did where she's like, it was really refreshing. It was a panel and somebody asked her a question about how she felt about the season and how she was portrayed. And she said, it's been really wonderful to see women with my body type, women with perfect breasts being portrayed on screen. And then I saw, and it was before I saw it. And then I saw the mirror scene. And I was like, she ain't wrong. Those are some good Yetis.
That's a pretty one.
And they did the same thing to Colin, too, though. So we should talk about the Shondaland glow up. Like, Luke Newton himself, he's a very stylish person and
very fashion
forward. But Colin was very pastels, very bright young colors.
Childhood.
In the first 2 seasons. And then he comes back as this like very serious version of himself. Yeah. Yeah, he looks redonkulous. But they also changed the colors he was wearing and they put like darker, more subdued colors so that it would reflect the fact that he's matured. Yeah. And like obviously they gave him more stubble and all that kind of stuff. But there's something to be said. Where did he get all those abs?
Yeah.
There's like 200 of them in there.
I go back and forth with Colin. Like, I think what's hard for me is I like see him as a little kid still. Not that he ever was a little kid, but he was younger when we first started this journey, you know? And so with this glow up, obviously he's a man. And I think because I love other Bridgerton brothers more, it was hard for me to like fall for this one.
I'm also so in love with Penelope that like to me, she's the sexual attraction for me in this episode. But I love their chemistry. The two of them as people.
Okay.
Nicola and Luke have very, very strong off-camera chemistry. They're very good friends, which brought to some of those intimate scenes where a perfect example is we love Anthony and Kate. We love their passion.
Yes.
But like when you watch Nicola and Luke looking at each other on camera,
also
I think that there must have been moments where they're like, you guys aren't having sex. You know that, right?
Well, the director, during the carriage scene, they yelled cut several times and they continued. Like they finished the scene.
Good, as they should.
After,
that means he's a gentleman.
Right?
Yes.
I was like, that's incredible. I just have to touch on this because I saw an interview with the actor who plays Anthony in one of the scenes of the new season where he's with Kate and Colin comes in. They're having this like talk about getting married and all this stuff. And when Kate goes off to bed, Anthony goes like this with his hand. He does this little like wave. And so it was like, did he forget he was a straight man? And I don't know why that made me laugh so hard because I picked up on that little wave and I was like, that's such a funny wave for his character. But it gave me a little bit of like who he is, which he's like such an incredible person.
Yeah.
And I just like loved that little moment of like his true colors just shine through.
Let's just talk about every single actor in Bridgerton. They are all so close off screen.
They're like a
with
family.
The exception of our boy. Fucking come on, man. Come on, Simon. Who said he'll never be on Bridgerton ever again. Which,
what
fine.
happened?
Whatever. I don't know.
I don't know. That's a tough one.
I think that you've watched, like, you know, on TikTok, all these TikToks are coming out now that the show's out of them on set doing all these TikTok trends. And like,
they're
sweet. Having so much freaking fun.
Yeah.
And I think because of that, these relationships are so fucking believable.
True.
They're so believable.
100%. I think that's too, like, I think that I love the way that they have also given so many characters that are very, very small in the book such amazing personalities.
Oh,
and
God,
like,
yeah.
I love, like, obviously we'll talk about this more probably, but like, can we just touch on Eloise? Like, her character in the show is so good. Her character in the book doesn't really exist. She's very minimal. She has some influence in the book. But
up until this point, we haven't read her story yet. So.
Yeah. And her story, I started reading, and I'm not going to lie, it wasn't what I thought it would be. And I hope that when they do give Eloise her story, that they change it completely. Because to be fair, she completely changes herself for a man and becomes like a mom to his children, and she's never wanted to be a mom or anything like that, which is a very sweet thing. But I think, like, to stay true to her.
Well, I know a little bit of her story, and so Marina in the books is a Bridgerton's cousin, not a Featherington's cousin.
Yeah,
that whole kind of storyline with Colin obviously doesn't exist,
right?
And who she marries is who. So Marina dies, and then she marries Marina's husband.
Eloise, with the two children.
Yeah. All right. So,
sorry, sidebar.
Just another difference.
Oh,
what?
Also,
I'm so nervous. It's so hard to take you seriously with your new hairstyle that you've done today.
Well, I was going for something like very bigger than life.
Cressida Cowper is what you're giving me.
Fair, because that's who I'm going to talk about. I
just realized I look like Mrs. Featherington. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh,
You're her cousin. So Cressida, again, I always like seeing how they take these like not super big characters from the book and give them their own little storyline. So Cressida in the book is already married. Like, she's out of
an awful man.
Yep.
Awful.
Old, awful man.
Who squandered away the money.
So, like, in my mind, I'm wondering if it was kind of like the guy that is in this season that they, like, try to force her to marry, if that's kind of like her situation in actuality from the book. He dies, so she's widowed. So, in the book, she's a widowed woman, and she's very bitter, and she's always just kind of like, you know, she has
no money. He left her nothing.
Yeah, she's miserable. And so I was curious to see how they would put that into the show without having that backstory, because obviously she's still going out in you know, the wedding
society.
Right. She's in her, is it like her third or fourth season? And so she's technically,
she came out with Daphne, didn't she? Because she almost got the prince that
Yeah.
Daphne almost
And
did.
to be fair, like all of those timelines are completely different in the book too.
Very different.
But with her, like I actually really enjoyed her character development. I know we're
Agreed.
meant to hate her.
I don't. I feel so bad
But
for her.
someone described it perfectly. They described her as a caged bird trying to get out. And that's why her costumes are so over the top, because she's fluffing her feathers up to make herself seem bigger and scarier to escape her cage, which is obviously her parents
And
her
you
father.
see, and her mother's not a bad person. Her mother loves her.
Her
but
mom's in the same situation.
Her mother is just living this nightmare, and she's willing to put her daughter through the same thing because she's like, I did it. You can do it.
Fear? Is it fear?
Or just not the unknown.
She
Like,
doesn't
this is
know.
what you do.
Yeah.
And Cressida, I kind of liked her in part one, and just her and Eloise's friendship. I think Eloise
seems
just
sweet.
lended, which does not exist in the book, just
No.
for the record, if you haven't read it.
No, they hate Cressida.
They hate Cressida. But Eloise kind of brings some humanity to Cressida's character.
Yeah.
And part two, especially, you really, and the set designer said that he made everything in that house so masculine, so foreboding, to show that there is no warmth in that home. And there's even a scene where there's like this huge Medusa head. I think it's on a bed or a desk or whatever, to just be like, everyone that goes in that house is meant for their hearts to turn to stone.
Yeah.
And it's really sad. And I think we'd be remiss without mentioning her character development is incredible this season. Just like the Featheringtons. She's really, it's sad.
It is sad. And I think you see her and you're like, is she going to finally like choose to do the right thing, right?
Yeah.
But my takeaway is I think she does what's best for her because nobody else is going to.
Which women are not allowed to do.
Exactly. And she
they bring
doesn't.
it up a lot this season.
They do. And she doesn't have anybody in her court. And I think that's the thing, is like, it's really pushed that the Bridgertons have their family.
She says that to Eloise, doesn't she? She says, I don't have what you do. I don't have a family to fall back on.
But interesting, like, character, like, parallel, Cressida and Penelope.
Yep.
Are very similar in the sense that they, neither of them really have the support system. Obviously different, but there's a definite, like, where Penelope chooses the higher road and decides to, like, come out as Whistledown and take that off of the Bridgertons. Cressida then goes in the opposite direction and is like, no, I'm going to double down and, like.
Kind of, do you blame her?
No.
And in the books, just another parallel that's a little bit different is there is the whole aspect of Cressida being this friend to Eloise does not exist, obviously. There's no friendship there. But also, you don't get character development from Cressida. She demands the same money that she demands in the show. And they're both like, yeah, we're not paying that.
Yeah.
And it's more Colin that says, no, you're not giving her your hard-earned money, which you do get a lot of that in the show. But Colin defends Penelope and does the whole thing where in the show, I think they want you to see the parallels between the two of them. They want you to see that they are two very strong women who are not accepting the ideals that are presented as women. Also, Eloise is very similar too.
Yeah.
I don't accept the fact that I'm just supposed to be a mom. Right. Where you have Daphne so willing to accept, like that's all she wants is to be married. That's it.
And I think that's fair. Is like, as women, we've obviously come a long way, but I think like every woman has the right to choose who she wants to be. And like no one has the right to tell anybody who they should be or what they were born to be. You know, like obviously there's a lot of talk about all of that kind of stuff, but I think they really, and especially because given the time that this is supposed to take place in, I think the way they handled all of this was really beautifully done. Like I really enjoyed the characters' strength and like resilience through all of this, even to like the point of Mrs. Featherington. Like this woman, as terrible and evil, she's kind of like the evil stepmother. She really has just been handed awful
shit
hands.
Story. And in the book, Penelope's dad, goner.
Right.
So there is no money troubles. There is no Jack Featherington, none of that. But show Mrs. Featherington, she needs to keep her daughters she needs them to have dowries because she wants better lives for them.
Right. She doesn't want them to have the same struggles that she has.
And that beautiful scene between her and Penelope when they say, we must do better this time. Let's do better this time or this round, however they phrase it. And then Penelope just gives her sisters that ball, but lets her mom take credit for paying for it. And then just the act of saving her mom from the solicitor that finds out that she has all that money, not because her aunt kicked the bucket, but because of this.
Yeah.
Where in the book, this is a little bit hazy for me, so hopefully you remember. But when she says in the book, there is a situation where an aunt dies and she says that the money came from them. But in the book, doesn't she take care of her family a little bit with the money? Or pays one of her sister's dowries or something? I can't remember. It's a little bit hazy.
I believe she puts money into the family without them knowing.
Yes, okay.
Like they don't know that the money is going to them.
And they think it came from a relative. Yeah. And maybe that's the adjacent plot line there. Yeah. Because I really like the way that played out in the show.
She pays the modiste.
The modiste.
She pays all of the, like, anytime they're, yes, that's what it is. It's the modiste. And I think, like, obviously, like, again, that the way it's done in the show, I like that. I think that's really sweet when she gives the money to
Me too.
What's her name? Varley.
Yeah.
And like, Varley. She doesn't want anyone to know.
Every day, we rise, challenging ourselves to work for what we believe in. At U.S. Border Patrol, protecting our borders is more than a job. It's a calling. Agents answer the call, working together to keep our country and communities safe. If you're ready for a new mission, join U.S. Border Patrol and go beyond. Learn more at cbp.gov/careers. Every day, we rise, challenging ourselves to work for what we believe in. At U.S. Border Patrol, protecting our borders is more than a job. It's a calling. Agents answer the call, working together to keep our country and communities safe. If you're ready for a new mission, join U.S. Border Patrol and go beyond. Learn more at cbp.gov/careers.
Another thing I want to talk about is this is the one scene that I was a little bit crushed on because I was really hoping they would do it the way they did it in the book. Is the scene where Colin walks in on Penelope reading his journal.
Yeah.
I was really bummed about what they had her read because in the book, you see a side of Colin that you don't get in the show. And I was really sad for that because I think it was such a beautiful, like, window into his soul and, like, shows you who he is fully.
That only Penelope has gotten to see.
Exactly. Yeah. And, like, what I'm talking about is when she reads the journal, she reads a entry where he's talking about the ocean and, like, the coast and all this just, like, beautifully written.
It's really vulnerable too. He's talking about how it makes him feel and
no women, no like, there's nothing about how attractive the women in Paris are. There's literally nothing about the women. It is just scenery and like where he's been traveling and who he's meeting and all this stuff. And it's beautiful and it's a beautiful scene and they don't give it to him.
No.
Ever. You never get that side of him. You know that he writes in the journals. You know that Penelope gets to read them. You know that she eventually edits. You know that eventually he writes the book and they give you all of that in the show.
Kind of, though. They like gloss over it so quickly.
And then after the credits is when you find out like the book was published and Penelope is I think
it's such a big point in the book too. You're bringing up a good point.
So big. It's so big. And it was a moment where you see. Because up until that point, you don't see Colin in that light. And I think what made me love Colin in the show was the fact that I knew that about him in the book. So, like, that was the only, like, why? Why'd they take it? Was it because they wanted him to grow And by putting him in this place of like, he's writing about women, it's beautifully written.
Yes.
But he's talking about other women to kind of put more of like Penelope in her own head, like, oh, he would never be interested in me because he's had all these beautiful women. And so then by the fact that then he is like, oh my gosh, I'm in love with Penelope, then you're like, okay, is that why they did it that way? I don't know.
I'm not
can't
sure.
place it.
And there's, I think maybe it's because the storyline in the book is that he's less mad that she's Whistledown and more jealous that she has a career and she's done something for herself, that he has not been able to do yet.
Yep.
And then he's super, super jealous. And so she doesn't know that he's jealous and he's just so nasty to her about being Whistledown. And then eventually it comes to a head where he says, I'm not upset with you for being Whistledown. I'm upset because you've done something.
Mm-hmm.
Like you've created a whole career for yourself and I've done nothing.
Right.
And there's
I'm
that
not
really
good enough for you.
Yeah. And there's this really vulnerable moment between the two of them in the book where you kind of see, like, as the reader, we already know that he's jealous because we've seen his point of view behind the scenes. Penelope doesn't know, but that moment that they have together is really beautiful and vulnerable. And the Colin in the show is super bitchy and bratty about it, but it's also because Lady Whistledown in the show is ruthless and has attacked his family and talked about him and talked about his sister. And even though she did Lady Whistledown show version, did say those things about Eloise to try and protect Eloise. So she thought, kind of ruined Eloise.
Yeah.
And then same with Colin. And so maybe it's because TV show Whistledown is so much more ruthless.
True. I mean,
and you're meant to be angry at Penelope.
Well, and I think the other reason why that I hated the way they did it is because also the next part of that is the obvious Penelope asks Colin to kiss her scene.
Which literally is next to my notes. He never teaches Penelope how to get a husband in the books. No. She just asks him to kiss her because it's the most romantic, adorable, sweet little thing.
Like, literally, I just have the kiss scene, chapter 9. Like, guys, if you read nothing else, read the kiss scene in chapter 9 in the book because it is what a good romance novel is. It is beautiful. It is perfect and it's quick. And it's just perfect. I loved it. And
I have it right here. You have
Same.
it too? Penelope laments that she's a sad, stupid girl who believes she might possibly have a chance of love. And then she looks at Colin and asks, would you kiss me? She quickly adds, it would not have to mean anything. I would never expect anything from you because of it, but I am nearly on the shelf and I've never been kissed and I'm not certain I ever will be. I could die tomorrow. He interrupts saying, you are not going to die tomorrow. Penelope continues, but I could, and it would kill me. I do not wish to die without having ever been kissed. Please. She adds in a whisper, Colin, and he looks at her softly, leans in, and the two share a passionate kiss. In the book, it takes place in the afternoon in the Featherington room, and that's it.
That's because that's the scene from the show.
Yeah.
So in the book, I'll just read this one line because it's beautiful. His lips touched hers softly at first, not because he was trying to be gentle, although if he'd had been the presence of mind to keep about such things, it probably would have occurred to him that this was his first kiss, and it ought to be relevant and beautiful and all the things a girl dreams about as she's lying in bed at night. But in all truth, none of that was on Colin's mind. In fact, he was thinking of quite little. His kiss was soft and gentle because he was still so surprised that he was kissing her. He'd known her for years, had never even thought about touching his lips to hers. And now he couldn't have let her go. If the fires of hell were licking his toes, he could barely believe what he was doing, or that he wanted to do it so damned much.
I feel like that is a perfect example of the differences of book Colin and show Colin right there.
I mean,
romance,
this is
baby.
who we fell in love with in the book, right? This is not the Colin we're given in the show.
But because of Luke and Nicola off screen,
their chemistry
really made me fall in love with him.
100%.
So, something we've not talked about in all the other episodes we've done, but I wasn't aware of it until this one. I was doing lots of I feel like we had more time to do lots of research for this because this season, before it came out, was massive.
Yeah.
It was just massive. But the people that make the show, these costume designers, these set designers, are freaking wild because there is so much symbolism that I didn't even realize. Every single season, the tree in the beginning of the show has something different growing off of it to reflect the theme of what the season will be. Yep. I never realized that. I know we talked about the tree a little bit in maybe the first season.
Yeah.
But
I don't think we did. I don't think we ever touched on it.
All of the characters have specific colors assigned to them to represent things that you're going to later learn about them. So one of them is the butterflies of the Featherington family in this portion of season 3. They're everywhere. They're on their furniture. They're on their everything. And it's meant to be, and obviously we get the bugs. Fly, the bugs. But the butterfly is part of the Featherington crest. And fans have started, it's like a fan hobby in Reddit that they try to find all the butterflies
in the show,
in the Featherington family. It's in their furniture, it's in their pictures, it's on their clothes, it's in their hair. And there's also, which is kind of fucked up, I guess there's bees for the Bridgertons. That's not very nice.
I know.
That's a little tough.
I know, but
that's a little tough.
Yeah, I did pick up on the bees. I think because it was such a pivotal part of that season.
Yeah. And
then,
so we kind of touch on it and we can talk about it not too much, but Lady Tilly Arnold, who is the young lady that in the show Benedict is having a tryst with. Yeah. So all of the colors in her house and in her clothing are very feminine, but when you get to her bedroom, she has this black and red thing to show that she's in power. Yeah. She has all the power and she'll let you know. And you even see that in the first episode where they dance for the first time.
Yes.
She leads. And it just shows you how little she gives a shit what society thinks. And then as far as colors go, Will and Alice, it kind of reflects their club colors, which are burnt oranges and smoky greens. And the Cowpers are obviously dark, dark, dark. And the Bridgertons have these beautiful soft palettes of light creams and pinks. And then the poor Featheringtons, it's all acidic citrus hues to show that the Bridgertons are like the beloved, soft, beautiful people. The Featheringtons are like the sour people.
That's rough.
And even this season, Lady Danbury, who I fucking love Lady Danbury. I love book Lady Danbury. Yes. I love Bridgerton Lady Danbury in the show. But she wore a bunch of jewelry to show her family heritage.
I love that.
She's from Ghana. So these beautiful pieces that reflected her culture. But they do that for every character.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, Kate, I know for this season, there was a lot of stuff from... Was it from India that they like sourced the costumes and stuff? Which I thought, like her dresses in this season, I thought were stunning.
Gorgeous.
They were so, I mean, she's stunning.
She's annoyingly beautiful.
But like
the colors.
They're just so, they're so
They
pretty.
even did the food this season, if you notice, is all bright colored, like fruit, cookies, everything. And did you know that every single cup of tea is actually hot tea?
I did hear.
So that they can enjoy it. I love that.
I feel like we've talked about that before because it's one of those things that we pick up on. Like we're big Gilmore Girls, and like the fact that
cups have been empty every time.
What the heck? So to add to the costuming kind of area, not so much costumes, but I was really curious about the music of the show because like it just always hits. And like I did a little bit of research and found out that like the songs that they play a much bigger part than like I think we even realize. So like for example, when Colin is like watching Penelope dance with what's his name? I feel so bad.
Justice for our boy.
I know. He seems like such a nice guy.
Oh God. I put him as my character that deserved a better story. It is Lord Debling.
Okay. So when he's dancing with Penelope, the song cover for Jealous by Nick Jonas is the song that's being played. Obviously, that's appropriate. And then Sia's Cheap Thrills is being played during the party scene when Colin realizes he has feelings for Penelope. I don't know. I just like really loved the different, the music is always great. And that's actually another thing that I like made a note about was the wedding scene, Penelope and Colin's wedding scene.
With the Taylor Swift song?
that was everything.
It was beautiful.
I literally was in bed watching this and just started crying over the way they look at each other.
When he nods to her, yes, you can, like, I'm happy to be marrying you. You can walk down the aisle.
It was so good. It was so good. And I just was like, this is what we want in these shows.
And there's a moment that I thought in that scene specifically. So Penelope's whole thing is, I've been a wallflower. I am invisible.
Yeah.
Like, nobody has ever noticed me. I am invisible. And that's why I've gotten away with this. But in that moment, everybody from the ton is there and they're looking at her with these big, bright faces and they don't know she's Whistledown yet. And in her head, I'm sure she thought that like Whistledown would be her big moment, but it's this.
It's that.
It's this moment with Colin, and she looked so beautiful.
Stunning. And also, I love how Colin constantly in the show is like, this is your moment. Like, this is you. Like, go, get out there.
This is for you. Yeah.
Like, I don't want anyone taking away this moment for you. And like, he does it a couple times. There's like a couple, I think like ball scenes are the most. But it's just, it's beautiful. And I also, another costume thing, which I thought this was like a really interesting thing. So we all know that the queen is like the topic of conversation for wigs, right? Her everything.
The swan hair.
So at the end of it, the swan hair, upon a little bit of research, that wig specifically took 2 years to create.
Okay.
The artist who made it literally worked on it for 2 years.
Okay.
Can you imagine?
And it had a full working motor.
Yes.
It's got the cherry blossoms. The swans are going around in a circle. Like, that is insane.
Stop. Like, also, who thinks of that? That's incredible.
I mean,
incredible.
Okay. I just want to point out something because we're big Eloise fans, but I'm going to say this. I'm a big show Eloise fan.
Yes.
I love that she's back to her old self at the end of the show, right? She's sitting. I love those scenes between her and Benedict on the swing.
Yes.
You get some in season 1 where they're smoking the cigarette.
They're so cute. That friendship is so sweet.
And then he says that, like, let's not let it go this long before we do this again. And they're sitting on the swings at the end, and she says she wants to go see the world.
Yeah.
And you get, I don't know, I really, really, really love Claudia Jessie, who plays Eloise. Mm-hmm. First of all, she's hysterical.
Yes, she is.
And she broke her arm, which is why she's like, if you look at me, I've got a muff on.
Yeah.
And it's
a summer muff.
It's a summer day. So she's like got her arms. She's walking with Cressida in the park and she's got her arms like in the muff because they could see the cast.
Well, and I don't know if you noticed too, I thought this was hilarious. They added that, right? Specifically because they're cast. But what I noticed is at the wedding, there's a couple guests that walk in with them. I was like, they're just trying to add it in so that it doesn't look so ridiculous because it looks so ridiculous. And I agreed. I love Eloise's character in the show. The book, she's like one of those characters that like doesn't really have a whole lot of anything going on. Like she comes in here and there, but like the show just makes her incredible. Well, to be fair, I think the actress plays a very big part in that. And I think
agreed.
To lead into another character who suddenly was a different person. Can we talk about Francesca and the fact that they...
Yes, in a second.
Okay.
Because that's such a big... I'm so excited to talk about that. I do just want to say, a little annoying that we had like 9 million subplots. Again, Mr. Lord Debling doesn't exist in the books. The actor that played Lord Debling, by the way, made Penelope a shirt that said justice for Lord Debling.
That's incredible.
And gave it to her.
I love that.
Gave it to Nicola Coughlan. But I do just want to touch on the fact that I noticed it a lot in the beginning of part 1. And then when I was reading, I noticed it more in part 2. There are so many scenes with mirrors in this episode or in this season.
Yeah.
Because Penelope's learning who she now is, like who she sees in the mirror is not who she actually is. It's just the girl that she's like trying to not be.
Right.
And that mirror scene, because like the carriage scene, so freaking hot. Mm-hmm. Love it. Mm-hmm. But the mirror scene, they're looking at each other in the mirror and she's seeing herself through Colin's eyes.
Yeah.
And so they did it purposefully and they use mirrors a lot because you'll notice a lot of characters catching a reflection to show that there's 2 sides to every character in the show. Sometimes even more.
Yeah.
But that mirror scene they did so specifically because they wanted to show everybody that moment where Penelope sees herself in Colin's eyes because she's watching it in the mirror, the way that he's looking at her because he's looking at her through the mirror.
So
and so
pretty.
she's like a little bit less buttoned up and a little bit more vulnerable. And that's why she's like, get me naked, boy. Take me to that couch, which they broke, by the way. They broke that couch in that scene. Which is incredible. But
and again, they didn't stop when cut was yelled.
I mean, do you blame them?
Hey, when you're in it, right?
Okay, now we have to talk about Francesca and why she was recast. Do you know why she was recast?
Well, yeah, because the other actors had conflicts of, whatever.
Yeah.
Before we even go to Francesca, this is
Nervous.
a theory. This is a theory.
Okay.
And I just want to throw it out there because it's a working theory. But I think the reason that they had Benedict and Francesca's stories in this season was so that you could start to learn about those characters and maybe start to like them.
I have an answer for you, so keep going.
And I understand, like, that was probably important to get them in your face and kind of start to, like, be like, oh, like, ooh, where's this story going to go?
Oh, yeah.
However, I very, very, very much disliked the editing that went into Benedict's scene, which I've already mentioned. I felt like it was like they didn't have enough content for Penelope and Colin, so they kind of just added in some other things to just keep it flowing, but it felt out of place.
So I have an answer for you.
Okay.
You're almost there. So they did that because if you've read Francesca's story, which is Dayelle and I's both favorite.
Yes.
Hands down. What a wonderful story. They said, obviously we know why she was recast, but Francesca's book, this is the showrunner, said that Francesca's book is so in-depth.
Yeah.
It's not just a gloss over like you're kind of getting with all the other stories. It is so in-depth, like the emotional turmoil and who Francesca is and why she chooses a person like this is so, you have to really understand how she plays a part in the rest of the family before you can understand this person who's okay being in Scotland by herself with her husband. But they said in order to tell Benedict and Francesca's stories properly when they get their seasons, they needed to lay
some backstory,
some groundwork. And because of that, I think Colin and Penelope got gypped a little bit.
Okay, fair. But when you think back to the first season, who was in the first season with some backstory?
Yep.
Anthony.
Yep.
So, like, this is not a new thing.
No, it's what they're doing. I think you're right to try and get us, like, excited about the next story.
I mean, like, just remember Anthony and Kate's story. Like, it was incredible. But it wouldn't have been.
I wish it would not have been.
Had you not known that backstory. Obviously, it's different in the books. But for show version, you needed that.
I think because also they're taking a little bit of a turn here. So there's a little gender bender situation where Francesca, I don't want to spoil it for everyone, but Michael Sterling is a very big part of Francesca's story in the book.
Yes.
John and Francesca have a beautiful love story. Do not let me get that wrong. It is so beautiful. They are meant to find each other.
Yes.
I love the way that they are. I read an article.
Perfectly placed together.
100%. Hannah Dodd, who plays Francesca, who's, oh my God, is she beautiful?
Yeah.
So delicate and feminine and really does look like Daphne, which is wild.
Yeah,
like,
it is.
They totally
I think
look
she
related.
looks just like the mom, too. The mom,
absolutely.
Yeah.
She said, in another world, I think we would find out that if this was modern times, that Francesca and Michael Sterling are probably, they've got ADHD, maybe a little autism. They're on the spectrum because they hate people.
Yeah.
Like the small talk, all that kind of stuff. It just doesn't exist to them. They don't want it.
Yeah.
And you get that a lot in the book. They are just so complacent being with each other and they don't need the rest of the world. And you get introduced to Michaela Sterling, who is John's cousin.
So, right. I was going to say.
Yeah.
So it's John and Francesca and
get married.
Michael is the cousin.
The cousin who is now Michaela as of the show.
Okay, here is my problem with this.
Okay.
Guys, this is like lots of spoilers. So like, please just be aware. I mean,
if you haven't read Francesca's story and you want to be surprised,
stop
listening now.
Yeah. And come back after.
Yes.
So my issue with this is the whole reason there is this relationship is because Francesca's husband is a duke. And if he does not have any male sons, potentially that title would go to the cousin, who is Michael.
Yeah.
Now, in the book, unfortunately, John passes away.
Yes.
Suddenly. And it's devastating.
I feel like these are awful spoilers. I really hope people have not continued to listen.
And like literally I cried when it happened because it just comes out of nowhere.
Awful.
Except you kind of know something's going to happen because you get so much of their beautiful love story at the beginning. And you're like, this is going to happen.
This is not how the Bridgerton books go.
This feels like Nicholas Sparks books. Like someone's going to die. So then what happens is obviously this cousin will then become the Duke. Mm-hmm. Unless Francesca is pregnant with a male. Uh-huh. Well, I'm not going to go into what happens with that. But stuff goes on. Mm-hmm. And so in my mind, how is that going to work by switching?
I have no idea.
That's my only thing. My only, like, how will they make it make sense in the way that it needs to make sense if the character's female? When in this time, which they try to stay true to, a female would not be given.
No, I think either John's not going to die and they have an affair.
But that just takes away from who she is.
Yeah, I don't know. And I'm excited to see how they do that.
But are they also like, did you pick up on the way? So when she kisses him at the wedding, there's like an immediate like, oh, I thought there would be sparks. Or like, oh, so are they going to do it in the she didn't realize her sexuality? Because obviously during that time.
Because when she meets Michaela, she can't even talk.
Instantly.
She can't even talk.
Instantly.
It's the hottest thing. I love it.
So if that's the case, all right, I'm here for it.
Yes.
But I just am like, I just want to know because I read the book. So I want to know how they're going to make it as good as her book was.
I don't know. And it's also really hard because the timelines are so off. So in the books, Michael and Francesca are getting married the exact same time as Penelope and Colin.
John and Francesca.
Right? Isn't it Michael? Because she gets the letter that, right? Isn't it her and John get married? I'm sorry, her and Michael get married. She gets a letter that Colin's getting married. I just read this too. I should know this. She gets a letter that Colin's getting married.
This is after John dies.
John has died.
Yes, I'm sorry.
And then she's like super annoyed because she's like, ugh,
yes.
Why didn't anyone tell me they're already married?
Right.
And so like the marriage is going to happen in 3 days. So she can't possibly get there. So then her and Michael are just like, okay, are you ready? Let's go get married today. Right?
Yeah. Well, which in the show, her and John get married the same time as Penelope.
Yes.
Well, not the same time.
So
but
maybe
like
that's an
after.
insight into how they're going to handle the stories.
Maybe.
I don't know. I'm interested to see.
Also, they just like threw the baby in there at the end of the show.
Roly-poly.
Just throw up, I guess, Colin and her. Well, I mean, to be fair, they do have multiple children, so I guess.
Well, you get it in the first book. You find out that they're together.
Yeah.
No. Is it the first book? Yes. Because you find out in the epilogue part 2, there's a moment where Simon is helping Colin and Penelope come with their kids, and Simon to help them with the speech impediment the kid has. They bring one of their kids in the epilogue of The Duke and I to Simon and Penelope. Nope, Simon and Daphne.
Yep, I knew who you meant.
Because one of their kids doesn't speak.
Yes.
George, or whatever the hell the kid's name is.
Yes.
Georgie.
Yes. Okay, I forgot.
Dennis.
I forget when there's so many epilogues after the epilogues, the second epilogues, and
there's an epilogue with an epilogue, 0.5 epilogue.
And so like you get, and also because we've read now all of them pretty much except for like Gregory and
I haven't read Gregory, Hyacinth, Eloise, or
Eloise I just started.
I didn't finish Benedict's.
Oh. Did I finish Benedict? I did.
Oh, great. By the look of Dayelle's face, we don't love it.
There's some like inappropriate things that happen in that book, which didn't age well. So I think that's also another thing that like I won't touch on it too much, but like some people really don't like that book because it's supposed to be a Cinderella retelling.
Yes.
Like his story.
Yes.
Which it is. But there's also a scene or some
Okay, she's doing fancy hands.
Where he like kidnaps someone.
Well, that's not great.
Her
and he's my favorite one.
Hostage for a while?
No, I mean, actually.
So like proximity
Kind of hot.
forced. So like it works. But like as far as the Shonda realm,
yeah.
that won't be in it. I don't think. If it is, wow.
All right, let's see what happens
We're getting
there.
smutty then.
Good, as we should. By the way, there is a interview that Luke and Nicola did together, and they said that there's an intimacy coordinator on all of these seasons, and they write in detail
like what
the
you're gonna
choreography, because every sex scene has choreography.
Yeah.
I would kill
for that scene.
That's smut, baby.
I mean,
bring us
script.
I want every script.
Yeah,
I want you just to give me the choreography of the.
They have one too.
Oh my God. Okay, so this is our new game. Whoever works for the studios and can find the intimacy coordinator's written down choreography, send it to us.
Also, who has that job?
I'm applying right now.
I want to know.
Mentally.
I want to just like sit down and have a conversation with them. Like, are they like sex therapists? Like, do they have a background in like?
I don't know, because, there's a lot of authors that we follow that we really love. They say, like, I practiced this scene out with my husband to see if logistically it made sense.
Yeah.
Luckiest husbands and wives in the world.
Yeah.
And husbands who get to practice.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah.
But also, I'm sure there's a lot of ways things can go wrong. It's like
break some parts.
And then he lifted my there goes my knee. It's popped.
Nope, that can't happen. Anyway, okay, that was off topic. Also, I really loved I'm just gonna throw this in here, super random tidbit. I loved the throwback to so there's lots of like food erotica in the Bridgerton series, and I loved the fact that they did a little throwback to the licking of the spoon in Simon's season with Penelope and the cake, but then also later on with Colin also eating food and like making a big deal to focus on his lips. I was like, all right, we get it. I'm
fine with it though, because
it works.
In the book, he goes down on Penelope a lot. So
that's like
you kind of get the vibe in the show.
That's his favorite thing to do, I think.
I mean, I love that for Penelope. Foreplay is so important. Good for Penelope. Great for Colin.
Also, she just is like, dude, tell me what I should do.
Oh my God.
I love that.
That is the
when she's like feeling him, just running her hand on him, and then he's like, not there. Not yet.
Read the book to know that scene, because that scene's hilarious.
It's so good.
I do want to say, I know that it got a lot of hate because we wanted just Colin and Penelope. So badly. And we had so many freaking side characters.
Yeah.
I do just want to say, though, I really enjoyed part 2.
I did too.
I was like, okay, clearly this isn't going to be the Colin Penelope show. We're getting a lot more. So my standards were lowered a little bit going into it.
Fair.
So I was a little bit more excited, I think. I'm a little upset with the fact that Colin was a little bitch ass hoe the whole time. It was like mean to Penelope, because Colin married Penelope, engaged to Penelope, like knew everything about her and loved her anyway.
And his struggle was more internal, like the being like jealous of her. You heard a lot of his inner.
Absolutely. Yes.
And so like, how do you put that on screen, right? You make him a jerk.
Yeah. It was a little tough. But okay. Here's the question. Watch it or read it. I'm saying both.
I'm saying both separately.
Differently. Yes.
Yeah. Like, give it some time. Watch it, because it's big right now. Just go ahead and watch it. And then maybe wait a little bit to read.
Read the book, though.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to read I really like their story in the book. You really love Colin in the book.
Here's my only takeaway.
Okay.
If you love how modern and diverse and body image positive
good point.
the show is, if that's your pool, the books are not for you.
Yeah, because the books are very heavy on the fact that Penelope's only getting married because she's skinny.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's true for all of the books. There's a definite difference in the way they depict the characters in the show than they do in the books.
100%.
And there's a lot of like self-eternal like hatred towards certain characters.
Oh, yes.
And like growing, obviously they grow and they get into themselves or whatever. However, for sure, if that is what you love about it, then the books are just not for you. You're just not going to get the same thing out of it. It's just not, especially the more books you read, like 1, 2, 3, safe, 4, safe. The further you go, I don't know. It's just a thing. And then I do have one last sign off.
I'm ready.
Just maybe my favorite quote from the show. I don't think that this is in the book, but it just hit so hard when I was watching it. I was like, I love this. I don't need you to save me. I just need you to stand by me, to hold me, to kiss me.
I loved that part. Oh,
like tears.
Oh, God, I love it.
That was beautiful.
That was a perfect summation of her character.
Yeah.
I loved it.
It's perfect. And on that note, I hope you enjoyed your carriage ride cocktail, and I hope that everyone physically gets a carriage ride moment in their sexual lives at some point, because it looks fun. Also, they have carriages in New York, so
they're
not closed.
No. I'm for the horsies. And follow us on TikTok, because thanks to I'm like playing with my gorgeous curls, Miss Featherington curls now. Our wonderful intern Lizbeth has been making us do all these fun trends on there, so you can laugh at us. Yes. But on especially Instagram too, we've got lots of stuff on there. Follow us. Do the cocktails. Tag us. Give us ideas.
Yeah. We'd love to hear your thoughts too on Bridgerton, like whatever it is.
Gosh, we need a forum for this.
And we want to know, because we have so many opinions. We'd love to know yours.
And keep your eyes out, because we are going to be launching a Patreon, which is going to have a bunch of stuff on the back end for you. Merch. We're going to have merch and Patreon and all the fun stuff. And thanks for tuning into season 2.
Yeah, we're excited. It's going to be a good one. Bye.
Bye. Our editor is Katie Yonner. Our associate producer is Grace Heerman. Our production coordinator is Nicole Vargas. And our senior content producer is Kyle Bosch. Our executive producer is Tommy West. And Watch It or Read It is produced by Gotham West Studios.
Every day, we rise, challenging ourselves to work for what we believe in. At U.S. Border Patrol, protecting our borders is more than a job. It's a calling. Agents answer the call, working together to keep our country and communities safe. If you're ready for a new mission, join U.S. Border Patrol and go beyond. Learn more at cbp.gov/careers. Every day, we rise, challenging ourselves to work for what we believe in. At U.S. Border Patrol, protecting our borders is more than a job. It's a calling. Agents answer the call, working together to keep our country and communities safe. If you're ready for a new mission, join U.S. Border Patrol and go beyond. Learn more at cbp.gov/careers.